Hey there, it's Chris Klustra. I'm just going to do a quick demo. I had a couple people asking me to record this, so I thought I'd do this really quick in terms of my workflow and process for video editing for a multi-track collaboration from multiple musicians from multiple locations. So in this case, this was for our worship team for our church, Country Hills Church, here in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. And everyone is recording in their own homes on multiple different devices. So some people are recording straight to their smartphones, Android or uh, iPhone. Some people have a mixture of devices, some for recording audio, some for recording video. And either way, it's a mixture of audio quality and video quality, and sometimes video orientation, unfortunately. Everyone was given the same instructions for recording, but either didn't follow or didn't have the capability of doing certain things. So we had the challenge of putting it all together to one uniform package. In this case, I'm just going to walk through the video portion of it. The audio has already been completed. We brought everything into Logic to mix the audio, just because that's what I had at the time. I could have done it in other tools as well, but that's just what I had to work with at this point. And many of them, because they recorded it straight to their phones, didn't have a separate audio source. I brought it here into Premiere and exported out the audio from their video audio track combination into a WAV file, and then brought that into Logic to mix. Once that was done or almost done, there were a couple different corrections and adjustments we needed to make with the audio. But once it was almost done, then I started to work with the video files. So in this case, with the video files, what I have done is I have one core audio track. When I was working with it to line everything up, I did also have the click track as a second audio track to be able to match a couple other things up. It was just easier to match up to a click because it had very clear, defined beats to match up with their individual audio tracks instead of a big, thick waveform. And so I would drop their track into the timeline. Each person has their own separate track. I left video 1 and 2 clean just in case I needed to put something underneath. In this case, I didn't end up doing anything underneath, but it was there just in case. So every single feed has its own separate track. Once they were in there, I labeled them. I brought them in, hid every other track as I kept bringing them in, and synchronized that track to make sure that it matched perfectly with the audio track underneath it. Once that was done, I would hide that particular track and go to the next one, bring that track in, line it up perfectly, hide it. As I would go also, I would just right click on the track. In this case, it's not grouped, but I would separate it. So I would ungroup it from its audio file that was already linked to it. And then I would simply delete the audio file that was assigned to each individual video track. So I have totally separate unlinked video tracks and the audio track. We're seeing right now the full production from beginning to end here, but obviously we're not going to edit at that level. We'll zoom in and go back to the beginning. Actually, I'm zoomed in a little bit too far. So what I would do here is I would have a couple things going. One, I was part of mixing the audio, so I would know what was going on. But I would listen to it a section at a time. Usually it would be a couple measures or however it would fit with the flow of the song and how it would be added in. So in this case, this is acoustic guitar, 2 acoustic guitars and a ukulele starting out the song. That's all that's going to be in the audio track. So that's all I wanted to show from the video track perspective. Did a little bit extra here because of the CCLI text that we wanted to have in there. One thing before I go forward, an additional challenge that we needed to work around with this particular one is because it was being used for a Sunday service, I also needed to add lyrics in. So that was a last step in a sense, but I also needed to make sure that I had space for it in the middle. And once you see here, we go to the next section. I've separated everything out to make sure that we had space for the lyrics, and it made sense, the most sense, for the lyrics to sit in the middle of the videos in this case. One of the biggest challenges I had was the ukulele video was not a standard video size. It was more of a 4:3 aspect ratio. And because I wanted to keep everything uniform, I did have to do a fair bit of cropping across all of the videos, except for the top two that you see in this space, because they're on their own at the top. So in this case, I wanted to crop everything and make everything look exactly the same as that smallest piece of the puzzle, the ukulele video. Um, You'll notice here that as you go along, I've made cuts in the video in the different sections. So what my thought process was for those is, for this section, there's these three and nothing else in this. This did a couple things for me. One, it reduced the processing that needed to happen on my computer. It's only looking at those three source files when it's showing those files. Secondly, then I could apply sizing and positioning to them, and sometimes cropping to them, without having to set points in the individual videos along the way. It would just make it a little simpler to copy and paste um, spacing, positioning, cropping, all those things to a specific video track, instead of having to set in points and out points and keyframes and everything else like that all along the way. So every time you'll see something change, there's a cut point to every single video file. Let me just bring this down out of the way a little bit. Every single video file from top to bottom is cut at the exact same point. It is possible that that video keeps going past that, but we had actually, I don't know, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 different musicians as a part of this project. Actually 10, and one person did two things, and then we also had the lyrics here as well. So because of that, we were only going to be showing a maximum of 6 on the screen at a time, except for one point later on at the very end of the video that you can see. We needed to have everyone in, just to show everyone that was involved all at the same time. So I'd remove all the different pieces that aren't needed and leave only the pieces that were left in that space. I'd click on the individual piece that I wanted, reduce to scale, use the save scale so everything fit in that space. In this case, I wanted some empty space around the edges. Not everything was touching. So that's why it's at 45% instead of 50%. Otherwise, everything would be touching. And because we have to deal with the ukulele video. And then I'd play with my positioning. I'd simply position it and drag the positioning to where it made the most sense. It had the exact same edge spacing around. And this was just the intro. Once we got to here, we are up to 5 of us. And then for the rest of the song, except for a small clip, it's always going to be 6 people in view at any specific time. From this point forward, it's the easiest because the positioning is going to match identically wherever they're going to be used in the video, whether we have these 6 people or different 6 people. These are the 6 tracks that are being used, or 6 video clips that are being used in line with their own tracks. So Amos is acoustic. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that I've applied a crop in there. If you don't know already, you can go to the effects panel, just search for crop and drag that crop in here. We have our scale. Again, I had to scale down a little bit further to fit into the bottom spaces, and positioning to fit into that spot. The nice thing is, once we've defined the bottom left-hand corner, all of these apply to a 1080p video to fit into that bottom left-hand corner. So it was really nice and easy to put anyone into that bottom left-hand corner that had 1080p video. If they had 720, or in this case, the ukulele, there was some other minor adjustments that have to happen, but for the most part, this made it nice and simple to work with. So I'm just going to zoom out here a little bit. As we went along, again, I went with the music in terms of where I wanted to crop and do things out. The only difference being, in the bridge, there's no lyrics, and so I would make them a little bit bigger to fill the full screen. my computer catch up with me here. So it was very little difference between that and the spread out version, just a little bit zoomed out and then moved down is all that's going to be happening there. But the nice thing is once that is defined, same type of thing, I can copy and paste styles. So let's just do a quick example here. If I wanted to move my video, which is in the top right-hand corner, down to where Amos's video is in the bottom left-hand corner, first I go to Amos's video, which is already defined with the cropping and sizing and positioning. If I right click on that and go to copy, and then I go to my video and hit right click on it and hit paste attributes, you'll see that it will paste all the attributes on my video that were on his. One thing to note with cropping, it will add multiple crops on top of it. In this case, it doesn't matter because they're all 12%. But if there was multiple crops at different sizes, you would just have to click on it and hit delete to remove one of them. You also notice that I don't show up right now. And that is simply because Amos's video is higher up in the view than mine. So it layer wise, it shows up above mine. If I just removed it, for example, it's gone. And you can see that I'm now in the bottom left, bottom corner. I would have to go to someone's video in the top right corner over here. In this case, it's still me by that point, and I can right click on this, copy, go to Amos's video over here, and paste attributes. And if I go back here and make his track visible, now we've swapped spots. So again, this saves a whole lot of time from having to manually position every single clip across the screen to fit into your spots. Once you've defined where the spaces are in your video that you want to put things into, it's very quick and simple. Now, one thing is I'm using Premiere Pro 5.5, which is the last Premiere version before it went to a subscription model. So there may be some slight differences, but for the most part within the Premiere world, you should be good doing that exact same workflow. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But I just wanted to do a quick video and hopefully help others that are doing similar compilation videos. I will also put a link below to the final version output of this video. If you would be interested in watching that, I'd be happy to have you take a look at that and give me your feedback as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.